third eye. It's either we should never be afraid to die. Rise up and take the power back. It's time a fat cat's had a heart attack. You know,
yeah, that's Bellamy. He's been on the show. Muse, he's a fan of the broadcast. Listen to his music and find out what's really going on with the New World Order. It's time for us to wake up and watch our flag of liberty and freedom ascend. They will not force us to accept their dehumanization. They will not win. We shall be victorious. Now, since that caller raised this point, I'm going to go over some news and then go back to your calls. You know, I don't just get up here and say Google is the NSA. I've been saying that for many years because I had the documents. Just like in 1996, I read the Telecommunications Act, and it said they were going to give $9 billion to the telecom giants by 2001. They gave them 5 years to do it, October 1st, 2001, under law, to make all cell phones trackable in real time. Every fax, every email, every phone call you made is routed through the NSA, and they put in whole buildings or floors in the telecoms to do it. All illegal. And then Bush denied they were doing it, and then it came out they were. Everything is being run through the government illegally. Has nothing to do with keeping you safe from terrorists. We have their internal MIAC, Homeland Security, and other training documents. It's focused at landowners, gun owners, libertarians, conservatives. You are the target. While you think it's for guys wearing, you know, turbans on their heads, you're like, get them, yeah, take their rights away. The whole thing's focused at you. But here is the Chicago Sun-Times. Friday. Cops love iPhone data trail. And it goes on to say, every time an iPhone user closes out a built-in mapping application, the phone snaps a screenshot and stores it. And the cops access it without warrants. iPhone's photos are embedded with GEO tags, geographic tags, and identify information, where it was taken. Even more information is stored in the applications themselves, including the user's browser history. The data is meant to be part of a direct, custom-tailored advertisements to the user, but experts say it can be used by police and is. The whole thing is a surveillance system, and it goes on. The phone itself automatically shoots and stores hundreds of such images as people close out one application to use another. It's taking photos without you even knowing it. The screen snapshots contain images of emails and proof of activities that might be exculpatory, inculpatory, or exculpatory. Either show you're guilty or not. The keyboard cache logs everything you type. On and on and on. All under federal law. And this is your identity now, is these phones, are these systems. And Matt Ryan wrote a good story about it, boiling it down at Infowars.com, why cops love iPhones. I told you this 14 years ago and got laughed at when I was reading the Telecommunications Act. And then we see these videos every day. Security guard tackles and chokes deaf customer for failure to respond. The guy's at a movie theater. He's got his ticket. He's walking. He can't hear the guy. He tackles him, beats the daylights out of him. There's footage in England came out this week. They pull over a family. The guy had just gotten out of the hospital. He had health problems. He couldn't move quick enough. They bashed the windshield out, beat him up. I mean, it's just, it's constant. Remember what happened at the G20 in London? A guy was delivering newspapers to a store. The cops didn't even talk to him. They walked up, beat him in the head, murdered him, and then the police said, we're allowed to murder whoever we want. When we don't have basic rights, folks, the sky's the limit, is my point. And you've been lied to about this entire system. You've been lied to about its nature. God help us. Let's go to Jeff in Texas. Jeff, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, Alex, a piece of good news and a suggestion. 2 Thursdays ago on DirecTV, on Doc TV, they aired Waco Rules of Engagement. And the night before on Link TV, they aired 9/11 Press for Truth. I was wondering if you'd approached Link TV or Doc TV about getting your films up.
No, I haven't, but that's a good idea. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Say that again.
I said there was my jaw dropped. I was seeing it on the television.
All right, I'll check into it. Jeff, I appreciate your call. Chris in Kentucky. Chris, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex, how you doing?
Good, sir.
I tell you what, the media bashing on Rand Paul is rampant in this local media.
No. Last Wednesday, the Washington Post and others interviewed the woman who'd been secret. She said, nobody kidnapped me, nobody made me use drugs. Esquire is lying. And still, we wrote a story about it Friday, but I checked Saturday and Sunday. I checked today. There are hundreds of articles still saying he's a kidnapper. It's not true. They don't care. They're counting on the public, kind of halfway paying attention, and then just believing it.
Exactly, and that's what they do. And it's just like a spin with Mandy Connell over here, talk show host at 84 WHAS here in Louisville. She says, well, I think it is, and it may not be true, but I think there's something under the rug that ran. You know, they spin this. They continue to do this.
Oh, it's not true. He's a kidnapper, but he must be bad. He's a co.
Yes, exactly. And they just want to get it in there. But she loves Jack Conway. But she says she's a patriot. You know, this is a spin game.
Well, they're panicking. I mean, he said the Tea Party is coming for you, and he's a real patriot. And they're scared of grassroots folks taking this country back. So, you know, they'll say you're kidnapping women. They'll say he's not really a doctor. They'll say he has racists at his rallies, even though it's admitted that it's Democratic operatives who've been caught doing it. And they just keep running with it all. Chris, I appreciate your call. Let's talk to Tony in New York. Tony, you're on the air.
Yes, hello, Alex. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, I have two quick questions. As we both know, there are many, empires that have come and passed. Now, my first question to you is, what is the difference between the decadence of the United States currently and past civilizations? And my second question is, what do you think about this idea that many black leaders have that, we need to start doing stuff for us and stop thinking that white people are going to help us? I think it's very destructive and separatist, but that's just my personal opinion.
Well, that's because if you go back to Margaret Sanger and the Rockefeller Foundation, I covered last Wednesday the filings by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Ford Foundation, where they admittedly have put hundreds of millions of dollars into black separatist groups, Hispanic separatist groups like Mecha, La Raza, and others, because they want everyone to be divided, but they do it in a, quote, liberal way. And Margaret Sanger said, we've got to pose as liberals, and we've got to pay off black leaders so we can abort these black weeds. We've got to get rid of these subhumans. We're going to create a liberal movement. We're going to create these health departments to take the black children, put them in prison. We're going to do it all as a liberal move and package it that we're fighting racism. The real racists come as liberals. The real racists come and tell you, oh, Whitey wants to get you. And in a way, it's true. The big elitist Whitey wants to get you, but the average white person is a guilt-filled, self-hating person who's been taught that white people are evil, so they then support the eugenics programs of the globalist and support the abortuaries and the Planned Parenthood and all of this against black communities. Anything else?
Yes, the question about the decadence between the United States and past civilization.
I'll answer that when we come back. Tony, great points. Stay with us. Mark, Seal, Sonny, Lionel, Tom, I'll get to you at least. But I'm going to get into economic news as well. The websites are prisonplanet.tv and Infowars.com. Stay with us. But a caller, if you just joined us, brought up an important question. He said, how is our empire different from other empires, decadent empires, we've seen throughout history? And that's a very important question and also extremely complex. Number one, the world is much more hectic. There's more technology. There's more information. And people become bombarded with so much data that they tend to pull into their shells and disconnect. I catch myself all the time instinctively wanting to deny things that I'm researching because they're so horrific. They're so horrible. Wanting to tell myself it isn't true. I mean, can you imagine when I read UN documents and State Department memorandums like Memorandum 200, where they admittedly were forcibly reducing population and putting sterilants in food, water, and drugs, vaccines? Can you imagine when I read Eco-Science written by the White House science czar about forcibly drugging the water, or when I see hundreds of different news articles the last month promoting sterilants in the water or lithium in the water and antipsychotic? I don't want to go on air and talk about this. As a normal, rational, decent guy, I can't believe it because the elite is so insane, so criminal, I can't come to grips with it. Earlier, I talked about the two famous black widows out in L.A. who would take homeless men in, buy insurance on them, wait 2 years so they could get paid and murder them. The police couldn't believe it. And the police are compartmentalized. CPS workers are compartmentalized. The military's compartmentalized. So they're told they're doing something for one reason, but really it hooks into a larger agenda. Elderly women get life in L.A. for murder for profit scheme. And they've now been denied their appeal. And they were recorded. They were so stupid, the cops left the camera on while they were being interrogated and walked out of the room, and they were all admitting it, going, don't let him know he did it. You're the stupid one who got us caught. People, and the cops, even when they saw them confessing on the video, they couldn't believe it. I just got reminded this today because I was listening to CNBC on XM. They were airing old TV shows from the last few years, just the audio of it. And they were interviewing the cops who couldn't believe women who were almost 80 years old were doing this. We have a blind spot for this type of stuff. And the greatest criminal system on earth are the major governments controlled by these offshore corporations. But you've got drugged populations. You've got people with all these chemicals in the food and water that's admittedly meant to dumb you down and make you servile. I mean, again, it isn't Alex Jones saying a decade ago this is why they're doing this. Now they admit they're doing this. Do you understand that? Do you understand how real all of this is? Look, you can't choose reality. Perception is not reality. What's really going on in the world is reality. And I use the analogy of somebody on drugs, on PCP or LSD. There's been hundreds of cases of it that are well documented, who jump off the tops of 20, 30, 40, 50, 60-plus story buildings believing they're a bird. But when they hit the concrete at the bottom, reality comes into play. So I deal in reality here. Not illusion, not delusion. Another big issue here is, generally, if you talk about the Roman Empire or other empires, they were at least for the strength of the nation. The globalists use countries to build their global corporate empire and then destroy those nations to expand their power on the wreckage, on the rubble. And so the United States is having its credit card run up to build this world government, but then we're going to be demolished ourselves in the end, and we now see that end game unfolding. You're not in Kansas anymore. 99% of what we cover is admitted public fact. The system just puts a bizarre spin on it. Like the CPS. They take your children outside of a real court, no jury, no due process, no grand jury, in the name of protecting the families. But I have the history. It's on record. It's a eugenics court. Let's talk to Chris in New Jersey. He says he's a CPS worker. Chris, you're on the air.
Yeah, hi, Alex. How are you? This is Chris. I'm a big fan. I've been listening for about a year and a half to you. And I just wanted to share some of my experiences. That a lot of the things that you've said on the air about CPS workers and the, the corrupt system match my observations as a worker.
Well, CPS has the highest turnover. It's 51% per year, national average. More than half of them quit in 1 year. You have these well-meaning people go to college, they get a social worker degree, they want to stop monstrous families that are out there, but then they find out that that's not the business they're in. Go ahead.